I'm Spencer Knowledge Fearon of Sky Sports Ringside Toe to Toe Boxing Podcast and hashtag Toe to Toe. And you're watching Lights Out.
This is Lights Out. I'm FAISAL Khan and we're here at the Goodwin Centre Promotions. I'm here with Steve Goodwin himself. Firstly, Steve, you okay?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks for coming down.
No, thank you very much for having us. Steve, let's start talking about Goodwin boxing. If you could just tell us like how many fighters you've got in your stable,
yeah,
and how's the progression going with Goodwin boxing?
No, we're delighted with how it's going. I mean, we look after 110 boxers. We deal with people at the top level such as Nicola Adams, hopefully fighting for a world title shortly, Frank Buglioni, who's won a British title. We've got people now fighting for English Commonwealth titles, both Wadi Camacho and Arfan Iqbal. We've got people fighting for English titles soon, Kay Prosper, and also Michael Ramabalazza, and we've got plenty fighting for area titles. So, and then we've got also the boys starting off from the ground level up. So we've got a spread from the top to the middle of the range and at the bottom. And what we try to do here is give everybody the best opportunity, treat everybody as an individual and help them develop their aspirations without and treat them with the respect they deserve and build their careers with total transparency. And that's why we get so many people wanting to come to us. We've got a good team here with Kevin Campion, Josh Goodwin, Alan Budgeon and Olivia helping out. We've got a really good team and a really good setup, and it helps the boxers achieve their goals and be looked after properly.
Excellent. And we've also got some exciting shows to look forward to. Field of Force at your call, November 17th. Then you've got another show announced, which is calling at 24th of November at your call again. And then I'm assuming you end the year on December the 1st at your call again for Strike. Strike, yeah. Just talk to us about these shows you've got coming up. Who's going to be featured?
Yeah, the first one is the 17th of November. Is promoted by Olivia, and that features cracking fight for the Commonwealth Cruiserweight title between Arfan Iqbal and Wadi Camacho. And the winner,
it's a good fight.
It's a good fight. It's a rematch of Arfan won the first fight in 4 rounds, but I think Wadi has learned from his mistakes. Arfan is real quality operator, hits very hard, and I think the winner will obviously be aiming towards a bigger fight, possibly a Coley at British level in a unification. But the winner's got a massive chance going ahead, so I think it's a great fight. And Michael Ramabalazza is a lad I took on who was really classed as a journeyman. He's had 2 title shots since he's been with me. He's now got his 3rd. He now takes fights for the English title against Ryan Walker, which is a really, really good fight. They are the 2 top of the bill cards. 24th, so Amy Sinfield's promoting that. It's a quieter show. I manage the fighters, so I've deliberately not put any of my fighters in titles on that show because I'm in Monaco with Frank Buglioni, and it's very important that I'm there when boxers fight for titles. Top of the bill is Rod Julian fighter Sam Gilly fighting Ryan Toms, who just knocked out Fred Evans last week. But that's more than that show on the 24th is more of a nurturing of a lot of top prospects. And the 1st of December is just amazing. We've got the English title trilogy fight between Miles Shinkwin and Joel McIntyre. We've got a fascinating Southern area middleweight clash between Luton's Lionel Shudofia and Taylin Jones.
Good fight.
It's a great fight. Just want Taylin to turn up, so hopefully he does. We've got Dion Juma, who's an exceptional cruiserweight talent, taking on Ozzy Jervio, who's super tough and going to give him the hardest fight he's ever had in his life for the cruiserweight Southern area. And then I've got the Cinderella man Jack Hughes, who's come from nothing to now we've delivered him a Southern area title shot at super flyweight, and he takes on Ricky Little. Then on the undercard we've got Yusuf Kamari, who I think is one of the best lightweight prospects in the country. He's taken on David Birmingham, who's 8 wins 2 losses and he's fresh off coming to London and beating Anesu Twala and then go and have another win last weekend. That's a cracking fight. So it's a really good show. Just hope it all stays together and these fighters do turn up. We've got some heavyweights on the undercard, John Pilata, Dave Abraham. The undercard's brilliant. It's just a show and a half. It's going to sell out your call. It'll be rocking. Yeah. It's the best small hall show, in my opinion, in depth that's been done this year.
Yeah, it's a good small hall show.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Definitely, all 3 of them, especially the one with Lionel Shudofia, local Luton lad.
Yeah.
Looks like a very big prospect.
Brilliant fight.
I know that you've worked with Frank Buglioni and Derek Chisora. If you could just tell us first about Frank Buglioni, how it works, because we understand he's also fights on Matchroom cards as well, and he works closely with.
Yeah, because remember that Goodwin Boxing is a management company, not a promotional company. So my job is to sign fighters as their manager, and then I will put them on whatever shows suit them best. Hence, Nicola Adams fights
Frank Warren shows.
Frank Warren shows. Frank Buglioni has been fighting on Matchroom shows. George Fox last week fought on a Matchroom show. I've had fighters fighting on the Haymaker bills. We had 6 fighters on the undercard of Groves and Cox last year at on the Sauerland shows. So we're quite happy. We will work with everybody. We had fighters on the undercard of the ITV shows. So my fighters will fight on whoever's shows suit them best. Goodwin Boxing has franchiser promoters that put shows on in London. And if that's what's best for the fighters, they fight there, but they're not tied to that. They can fight wherever they want and whatever suits them best. That's what's really important we get across. I'm managing the fighters, they're not tied to us promotionally. We go wherever we go to get the best opportunities.
Another fight you worked with is the controversial Derek Chisora.
Yeah.
He's had his moments in the past, as you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
He's now with Haymaker Promotions. Firstly, what was the relationship like working with Derek, and what did you make of him signing with David Hay and Haymaker Promotions?
Right, so what happened was I managed Derek, and we managed on, although we had a contract in place, we just managed on an ongoing basis. And Derek wasn't the easiest to deal with, and there were times when I'd rather not have had to deal with the things I had to deal with. And as you know from off air, I don't do boxing for money, I do it for the enjoyment. So Derek Chisora did provide me with a lot of headache, to say the least. But I also learnt a lot from it, and I think I've done a fantastic job with him, resurrecting him from where we were to where we ended up after we beat Carlos Takao. We always had the issue where I said if you wanted to go off and do your own thing, you could. After Takam, he said, I think you've done a great job, but I want to do it myself now. Now, if you were being sceptical, you might say that happened because he's about to make some big money. But I wish him all the best. I don't have any issues. I get on well with David Hay. I spoke to David Hay after Derek signed with them and gave David Hay some information he needed and things he needed. But yeah, going forward, I hope they do well. We'll see in 12 months how the relationship builds. It may end up being a good thing for Derek. It may not. But what we'll never know is whether he would have been financially better off where he was or where he ended up. But that's not my concern anymore. And I wish him the best. And I've got enough fighters to look after. That probably, some fighters give you a head. I think the easiest summarisation I'll give you for fighters is this: fighters will give you headaches from time to time. But when it becomes a migraine, it's a problem. And Derek was a migraine in the nicest possible way, but I enjoyed the time I had with him.
Excellent. We'll obviously talk a bit about Frank Buglioni. Defeated by Callum Johnson earlier in the year, won his fight after that, and he takes the fights in Monaco in November. There's a lot of talk about the likes of Frank Buglioni. You've got Anthony Yard, Jose Burton, Joshua Buatsi. There's a little mix we've got going on there, a good little British mix. People want to see Anthony Yard in with a much better opponent than what he's been in the last few weeks. Could you tell us, if we can perhaps do you see Anthony Yard getting in the ring with the likes of a Jose Burton or a Joshua Buatsi or Frank Buglioni? Right,
I think to deal with the two issues. Frank was offered fights with Jose Burton. We were offered fights with Anthony Yard, and we were offered fights with Buatsi, and I was also offered the fight with Fan Long Ming. So we had the 4 fights. We also had the monetary offers on those fights, and when we assessed all of those fights, we took the fight that gave us the most money with the best option at the end. And Fan Long Ming is a world ranked, he's highly touted in China, and they're trying to develop him in America. The Anthony Yard fight, we were offered that fight. We didn't go into details about what the contract would hold, but we were offered a purse. It's not the purse that has been advertised that they've said that we were offered. We weren't offered as much as that, but it was a fair starting offer. We were offered by Matchroom the fight with Hosea Burton, and the money was
just not what you
nowhere near. And the Buatsi fight was just over half of what we were offered for Anthony Yard, that sort of level. So that wasn't enough money either. And the Fan Long Ming fight was the one where it offered us something, because the guy, the win in this fight will get Frank into probably top 10 in the world. with not with the WBO, because I don't hold the WBO all of the time in the same ratings as WBA, WBC and IBF. WBO has got some good world champions, but you can win a WBO European and get a top 15 ranking, and you see some of these WBO European champions and they're not really world-class fighters. So I think that devalues that world ranking to a certain thing. As far as Anthony Yard is concerned, he's promoted by one of the best promoters that we've seen. Frank Warren is a phenomenal promoter, and his success over the years in developing fighters to become a world champion and navigating them through the easiest possible options is second to none. I mean, it's phenomenal. So he's doing the same with Anthony Yard. He's trying to avoid the pitfalls like the Hosea Burtons, who I believe beats Anthony Yard, and he's trying to pick the people that he thinks are suited. So he obviously feels that Frank Bollioni is quite suited to Anthony Yard now. He didn't before. When we go back, when Frank had the British title, that was never going to be a fight that we could do because he walked away from the Burton fight. But now they are actively looking for that fight. But what we're going to do is get Fan Nong Meng out of the way, and subject to Frank winning that, then the Yard fight becomes one of the fights that we can look at.
So be a good fight as well to see.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it depends on what options there are. It's all about risk and reward. If you know, Callum Johnson took the Beterbiev fight, I don't know what he got paid for that. It's none of my business. But I hope he got well rewarded. And at the end of the day, Rocky Fielding has took the Canelo fight. If you get him for a fight like that, for the sort of money that I would hope he's getting, you'd probably take that.
Yeah.
Because they're life-changing money. What you're not going to do is take a really hard fight for not a lot of money. That doesn't make sense. You've got to look at the risk and reward on every fight.
Another big fight we've got to look forward to is on December the 1st in LA. The WBC heavyweight champion Deontay Wilder defends his title against Tyson Fury. What's your predictions for that fight?
Well, firstly, I want to say that I think Fury deserves all the credit in the world for taking this fight and stepping up, because you know he hasn't had much of a comeback fight. He's had 2 wins against one person that couldn't fight and one that was just giving him rounds. So to step up in his 3rd comeback fight and do this, I think he deserves all the credit in the world. However, I feel that he will come up short in the fight. I think Deontay Wilder will win the fight, win it impressively. Before going on to bigger things. Doesn't mean Tyson can't come again, but I think this is what the likely result is. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Tyson wins, but I don't think it's likely.
Does it make sense in terms of giving the fans what they want and business-wise for the winner of that fight to step out at Wembley on April 13th and take on Anthony Joshua?
Well, it makes sense from... It makes good business sense from if Deontay Wilder wins, it makes sense from Deontay Wilder to do it. You could argue from a business sense point of view, while Anthony Joshua can fight people like Derek Chisora, Dylan White, Alexander Povetkin, Jarrell Miller, Kubrat Pulev, that you can make that gravy train run a lot longer without him being at massive risk, because I don't believe any of those pose any major risk to Anthony Joshua. So really it's far easier for him to take those sort of fights and just keep the
train going,
the money train running.
Yeah.
And Barry Hearn has said that on many occasions, and Barry Hearn is a very, very smart businessman. He said, I don't want to see this fight for 2 years or something, I think he said, which I think is just the business angle of it, so it makes perfect sense. What you don't know is what's really going on between all these teams, and what we do know, the only thing we do know is, Anthony said, I want the 50, give me 50 million, I'll do it tomorrow. They delivered the 50 million, he didn't do it. And that's the only thing we know. The rest of it is all to do with he said, she said, he said, she said, we don't know. So that's between all of the parties involved. You don't know who's bluffing and what percentage is true from one party, but it's just a shame that it's not happening. But it will, I mean, hopefully it will happen. Hopefully it won't be like a Riddick-Bowe Lennox Lewis that never happens. Or like a Mayweather-Pacquiao that happens too many years too late.
Yeah,
yeah.
100%.
But again, boxing is a business, and for fighters, it's a case of ticking the money over. But even more so, I'm sure Anthony Joshua would fight Deontay Wilder tomorrow. But from a promoter's perspective and a sponsor's perspective, and you've got to remember StubHub and all of these people that make a lot of money out of Anthony Joshua fighting, they want him to fight as often as possible, don't they? Mm-hmm. Rather than, they're not that fussed about fighting Deontay Wilder, they just want the money machine ticking over.
What did you make of Canelo Alvarez's 5-year deal with the Zone? It's an 11-fight contract and it's worth a reported $365 million.
good luck. Good luck to anybody taking the money. I have a problem with Canelo Alvarez because of the drug cheating, so that's just a personal thing outside that. But as far as the deal is concerned, DAZN are putting a lot of money to the sport, and I have a pet. I'm getting absolutely sick to death of the pay-per-views and the justification for some of these pay-per-view shows. And what DAZN's doing in America, they're going to be offering a subscription for, I don't know, is it $10 or $20 a month. And at the moment, people are paying $80, $90 for the pay-per-view model. Pay-per-views need to stop, and it's becoming a problem in the UK as well. So if DAZN make it work, I'm all behind that, because that could then become a model that comes over to the UK, and it stops all the exploitation of boxing fans, which I believe goes on. And I don't buy into these fights would not be made if it wasn't for pay-per-view. Because we go back before pay-per-view existed, there were really good fights made around the world without pay-per-views, weren't they? I think we've got to go back over years. A lot of Mike Tyson fights, they weren't on pay-per-view. You could watch them in the middle of the night free of charge. Tyson, Holyfield, Lewis, when he was fighting, he was managing to fight for world titles without pay-per-view models. So I think it's sometimes, if somebody says something often enough, everybody starts to believe it. And at the end of the day, pay-per-view fight should be a fight is where people get £2-3 million a fight, in my opinion. That's where it should be. And how many fights really justify people getting millions of pounds? I don't think Frampton Warrington justifies millions of pounds. I don't think Chisora-White justifies millions of pounds. I think that Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder does justify that.
What about Usyk Bellew?
And Usyk Bellew also, I would argue, could definitely. You've got it's a unification of a former cruiserweight champion who's beaten a faded David Haye twice against the unified champion. I think that's justifiable as pay-per-view. But not all of these pay-per-views are justifiable. It's wrong, and I think boxing fans are exploited. Because on this basis, what about when Manchester United play, or Liverpool play Manchester City or Manchester United in European Champions League final? That's not pay-per-view. And that's the best of football. Why do we not bring pay-per-views into football matches? It's ridiculous, because we wouldn't accept that. But in boxing, we're told to accept it. There we go.
Did you get a chance to watch the Chisora-Fury versus Hughie Fury fight?
Yeah, it went as I thought. Hughie was good early on, got cut, which we accept, but Hughie Fury was always going to be awkward enough to frustrate Chisora-Fury early. But it was just, again, Hughie can be a good fighter, but he's at 24, he's got a lot of work to do still. A lot of technical stuff needs to be improved on. He's a very young man, he can come again. But at this stage, at this particular stage...
He's had as well throughout his career, and he's already fought for a world title, he's still at the age of 24.
24, so and I think full respect again for Hughie for going over there. What you remember is Dylan White didn't want to go, did he?
No.
Didn't want to go. Why didn't Dylan White want to go? Because he didn't think he'd win, in my opinion. And Hughie steps up and takes that fight, and he wasn't scared to go and do it. So everybody should be taking their hats off to Hughie rather than condemning him. Is he world level at this stage? Probably not, but he can be in a few years' time. Dylan White didn't want to take it because he probably didn't feel the money justified his chances of winning. I actually think Dylan could beat Chisora-Fury, but he's obviously sat back and took the Chisora fight instead, which probably will make him more money, so that's better business. But nobody wanted to go there and do it, and Hughie Fury stepped up. But what you also got to remember is Dylan White was screaming he wanted a world title fight. He was offered one against Chisora-Fury and declined it. So we've got to say that it's smoke and mirrors in this boxing world, isn't it? Yeah. People claiming one thing but actually doing another, and we're so used to it. But let's be real, Dylan will fight Derek for the money, but there's no world title at stake.
Yeah, I mean, when judging where Dylan White is right now, you would expect him to have already fought for a world title, because he's had a great year so far. Beating Lucas Brown and then that impressive performance against Joseph Parker. As a manager's...
apart from round 12.
Well, listen, he still got the job done though, didn't he? And Joseph Parker is a former world champion as well. So
yeah, no, 100%. No, listen, I've got respect for Dylan. He came from the small hall scene, and I think Dylan has done great things, and you've got to say full respect to him.
If he was managing Dylan, sorry to interrupt, but if he was managing Dylan, would you expect him to be right now thinking about fighting for a world title and forget fighting the likes of Chisora,
to be honest, I think he's doing. No, I think he's doing the right thing. I think.
Well, he's keeping himself active.
Well, he's getting the maximum amount of money for the least possible risk, because fighting Derek Chisora, I think Derek won that first fight. That's me personally, but I think Dylan has improved massively since that first fight.
Yeah.
So I think Dylan starts as favourite. He's going to get a lot more money because people are going to pay pay-per-view for this than going to Bulgaria and fighting Pulev. So it makes the best possible business decision for what probably is an easier fight, Derek over Pulev, because Pulev is hard to beat in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And he's going to get a lot more money. So if I was managing Dylan, I would have done that as well, took the Derek fight. Because if he beats Derek, he's probably going to get the Joshua fight. He's going to get the maximum amount of money. If he then loses to Joshua, it doesn't stop him coming back and fighting some of the other lesser world champions.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's, thanks a lot for coming down, and keep an eye on the shows.
Yeah, if you could just tell everyone how they can go about getting tickets.
If you want to fight, go and get tickets or look at our shows. We've got a website which is www.goodwinboxing.co.uk, and that links you through to the ticket link, which is at myfighttickets.com. So you can buy tickets from there or buy from any of the boxers on the show. And come and see one of our shows, and definitely come to the 1st of December. It will be an amazing night.
Yeah, hopefully get the crowd in from Luton to support Linus.
Yeah, he's sold well already. There's a lot of people coming down to watch Linus.
I've been following him on Instagram. He's posting that he's selling tickets all the time. So
he's doing well. Good luck. Yeah. He does well, Linus, on his tickets, and looking forward to that. And then let's not forget Kay Prosper, the other Luton lad who's got an English title fight coming up against Samuel Mason. So Luton could have 2 massive champions by February, March next year.
Hopefully, maybe one day you can get them out at Kenilworth Road.
That would be the dream, one day, to do a show up here, because the problem you've got with Luton, we've been looking for venues. We want to do a show up here, but we just can't find a suitable venue.
Yeah.
They're not big enough yet for Kenilworth Road, but they're big enough for a good arena around here, but there just isn't one, which is really frustrating.
Well, that'd be big for the town. Obviously, being a local lad from Luton myself, it would be massive for Luton if you can get a show on. And well, listen, Steve, really appreciate your time today. Look forward to catching up with you at future press conferences, a few more interviews. Look forward to watching your ring talk tonight. You guys can see that on the YouTube channel, the Goodwin Boxing
YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's great little show that they have going on. Thank you very much for your time, Steve, and thank you very much for talking to Lights Out.
Pleasure.
Thank you.